Good evening. My name is Robin Hutterwell. I'm a graduate student in the Elementary Education Department, and I was fortunate enough to spend my spring break conducting research abroad in Uganda. Thank you for joining me tonight as I present Questions from Uganda. In March 2016, as part of our Global Connections Research Methods class, myself and 4 other graduate students traveled to Africa. We sought to gain insight on our research purpose in a privately funded primary school known locally as Arlington Junior School. The Arlington Academy of Hope is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to help children in rural Uganda reach their full potential. The vision to transform the communities into self-sufficient, vibrant communities can be seen through their work in the model school, Arlington Junior School. For many in eastern Uganda, this is their only chance at academic success. For 6 consecutive years, 100% of the students that attend Arlington Junior School have passed the exam that students are required to pass all throughout Uganda. In stark contrast to the surrounding area, most of these students go on to secondary school funded through Arlington Academy of Hope because they've passed that primary leaving exam. I think it's important to understand the dedication and commitment the 350 students of Arlington Junior School have to their education. You can see in their eyes they're full of passion and excitement, and there's a love for learning there. To paint a brief picture of the students, I want to introduce you to Waniba Brian Wananga, a student from the school. Brian's home is with his mother in a village nearly an hour's walk from school, but he has found a second home in the classrooms and library of Arlington Junior School. His love for learning often saw him walking the dusty village roads in darkness on his commute to and from school. Brian's dedication and intellect earned him top score in the school for primary leaving exam, and he is currently studying at one of the premier secondary schools in Uganda on full scholarship from Arlington Academy of Hope. There, he maintains the reputation for excellence he developed at the school and works hard at his goal for becoming a doctor. Those who observe Brian in action have little doubt that he will attain whatever he sets his sights on. It is the hope of the Arlington Academy of Hope to ensure that every student at Arlington Junior School can become a success story like Brian. The success of the students at the Arlington Junior School can be attributed to the dedicated teachers in Uganda employed by the Arlington Academy of Hope. These teachers are well trained and strive to provide a primary school experience and atmosphere that inspires curiosity, encourages continued learning, and gives hope for a better future. As future teachers ourselves, our research group was specifically interested in studying the questioning methods that the teachers at the Arlington Junior School were using. 2 years ago, a Marymount team visited the Arlington Junior School and presented their teachers with a way to classify questions or think about the questions that they've been asking. It's known as Bloom's taxonomy. It's a systematic, multi-tiered model for classifying those questions. It starts at the bottom and you work your way up through different thinking processes. It's very well known in the educational world. We all refer to it as Bloom's or Bloom's taxonomy, if you're not familiar. These questions, different questions that you ask your students can be either low level or high level, depending on what processes they ask students to do. At the bottom, you start with knowledge, which is simple recall, and then you can move up to creating new solutions for different problems and things like that. So since the teachers were familiar with Bloom's taxonomy, we decided to focus our research around the current questioning practices that were happening in the classrooms at Arlington Junior School. And we were able to create, come to a consensus on our research purpose, which was to identify the questioning methods used by Arlington Academy of Hope teachers. The Arlington Academy of Hope gives students access to educational resources that help reverse the decades of decline that this nation and area has seen. Providing opportunity for education is a goal that everyone on our research team wholeheartedly believes in and is hoping to attain. So due in part to our work, it seems that we have documented evidence now and developed a thorough understanding of what type of questioning strategies are being used in the Arlington Junior School classrooms. This data is important in creating and forming a holistic understanding of classrooms abroad and lays the groundwork for educational research groups in the future. As a research team, we developed a procedure to identify the questioning methods used by Arlington Academy of Hope teachers in Uganda. We chose these teachers for two specific reasons. First, Marymount has an established relationship with the Arlington Academy of Hope, the Arlington Junior School, and processes are set in place to have us come over there. Number two, the teachers are well trained and rigorously participate in teacher training and are in tune with and excited to learn new strategies from other educators. So having established the Arlington Academy of Hope teachers as our population, the research team decided to observe the classrooms during instructional time and collect data on the questioning methods. To gather the data, we chose to go into 14 different classrooms and observe what questioning methods were happening. To choose which classrooms we went into, we employed a random sampling method where we chose the which level class, what grade level basically we were going to, and then which subject we were going to do. Each class from primary 1 to primary 7 was observed for a 20-minute period in 2 different subject areas. The subject areas we chose were the core 4, language arts, science, math, and social studies. From here, we were able to create a data collection table. And then for the assigned classrooms, each researcher would go in, take a few of their sheets, and our main goal was to write down verbatim each question that was posed to students in the classroom. While we were actually in the classrooms in Uganda sitting there, we wanted to be sure that we accurately took down the question, so our main focus was getting the verbatim question down. We also thought it was important at the time in the classroom to identify if it was posed to an individual student or if it was posed to a group of students. If an individual student was chosen, we thought it was also important to note the gender of that student, male or female. And then from there, we were able to analyze the data kind of in a different capacity. So back in the US is when we came and identified if it was an open or closed question. And then our ultimate goal being to classify it into one of the 6 categories. So although we randomly selected our participants and thought we were going to go into these classrooms, we were definitely prepared for some alterations to that. We ran into 2 major speed bumps in collecting data that altered the research slightly, but overall didn't contribute too much to any variance. So our first speed bump was that in the primary 7 class, we were unable to collect any data. They were preparing and reviewing for that primary leaving exam, and so their instructional time at the time when we were there was focused on that. In addition, in the P1 and P2 classes, which is roughly equivalent to 1st grade and 2nd grade, they didn't explicitly teach science or social studies. So when we found this out, we just decided to, if we had been assigned to observe in one of those subjects, we just simply replaced it with a language arts observation. So as I said, those 2 difficulties may have led to some skewing of the data, but overall we got a varied and true sample of the Arlington Junior School population. So these are the classes that we were able to get into. So as I mentioned, the data collected in Uganda was analyzed once we got back to the U.S. Inter-rater reliability within analyzing the data of the research group can be said to be high. We're all professional graduate students studying in the same field, and we're very familiar with Bloom's taxonomy terminology. We collected verbatim data to avoid analysis or to avoid skewing of the analysis. However, by nature, when you're classifying something into a subjective system, the data can be said to be slightly subjective, and there may be alternate opinions if other groups were to come in and research it or analyze it outside of us. Something to note, but again, we think that because of our Because of our extensive study of Bloom's taxonomy and experience in education, we feel that we analyzed and interpreted the data in an accurate way. So after interpreting and analyzing the data, we found that 205 total questions were asked throughout all of our observations. The overwhelming majority of those questions fell into Bloom's taxonomy categories of knowledge and understanding, which are the lower level thinking questions, and the majority of them were also closed questions. Our results can be summarized in a series of different graphs. So here you can see is a breakdown of the data that we collected about Bloom's taxonomy. The questions are classified into the categories and then those results displayed. So it's important to note that over 50% of the questions we found at the knowledge level, which is the first level, lowest level of thinking, doesn't necessarily engage students in higher level cognitive processes. I think it's also important to note that the creating level questions, where you're asking students to create something new with their minds or with their hands or however you're phrasing the question, there were 0 questions like that asked during our observation period. 60% of the questions were closed, which solicited a specific response from the students, whereas 40% were open, which gives students a little bit more variability on how they can answer what is encompassed in their answer. Surprisingly, we found a pretty even split between individual and group questions. 52% group and same individual. We didn't find any significant difference between the gender that the individual questions were asked to, which was something that we were interested in looking at. The significant major finding of our research was that the Arlington Academy of Hope teachers are using questioning methods that primarily promote lower level thinking for their students. From the data, we can conclude that the Arlington Academy of Hope students are rarely exposed to high level thinking questions in their classrooms. This is an issue and something that we wanted to get information on, because when you are using higher level thinking processes, that's when you develop those critical thinking skills. And critical thinking skills and the processes required to use critical thinking skills develop students into those critical thinkers who can learn about, interact, and challenge the world that they live, work, and play in. Our results provide evidence that the Arlington Academy of Hope teachers do not use high-level questioning methods in their classrooms. The results indicate that they are using higher-level questioning processes less than 10% of the time. And having this information, the Arlington Academy of Hope and Marymount University have a solid foundation in which teacher trainings can be built around. In the future, our data collection table and the results of our research purpose can foreseeably be used to create specific teacher trainings and follow-up in Uganda. Marymount education research groups can continue to investigate the questioning methods used by the Arlington Academy of Hope teachers, using our findings as kind of a basis to start from. Continuing a partnership between the U.S. and Uganda will help students develop critical thinking skills that they can transfer to the real world. With such dismal educational standards in Uganda, the research team, myself and my colleagues, found it difficult to find a place to start. However, once we were in Uganda experiencing the culture and the educational system, we were able to provide future educators with a place to start. So that's kind of where we left it. We kind of went in blind, at least from our perspective, and then found out a lot of information, and now can hopefully pass it on to the education department and continue with that. Thank you for joining me this evening in reviewing our graduate student research questions from Uganda. I'd like to take the opportunity to address any questions that you may have. We're now open.
I'm curious about the native language of the students. Is English their native tongue, or are they learning in the second language?
Thank you for your question. In Uganda, the national language is English. So at this school in particular, they are taught in English. The primary ones, so the first grade students, their first experience with school, some of them are still speaking in the native tongue Lugisu. However, at Arlington Junior School, they are 100% immersed in English from the time they get there. In other government schools in the area, the case is not so. They don't begin English instruction until about 4th grade, primary 4. So that is kind of a whole different can of worms, which is why it was so exciting, and we're fortunate enough to be able to have this partnership with the Arlington Academy of Hope. They're more kind of aligned with how we view education and some of the U.S. standards.
But you're saying, but the students are 100% Uganda speakers, they're using English in school. Uganda is not the communal language.
They're in this district, there is a communal language, so sometimes they're speaking that, and if the parents and if the community members don't know English, then they revert back to the community language. However, at the Arlington Academy of Hope, they are speaking in English, and the teachers are speaking in English as well.
Thank you so much.